Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 178 of the Ringside Rundown podcast. My name is Erik Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime. Yes, that rhymes, coming straight from the Berg. She is none other than Shay Hickson. Shay, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Can't really complain too much. How are you?
I'm doing good. Easy week. You know, we're recording on a different day because of me. I'm sorry about that, but
Fine.
you know, I know a lot of people were disappointed there was no AEW stream tonight.
But you get a new episode, so you got to take the good with the bad.
Exactly. And tonight's episode is a big one. I'm excited to talk about it. It's going to be us discussing the AEW WrestleDream pay-per-view that happened this past Saturday, and what a show it was. I know we have a lot of thoughts about it and everything like that. AEW, I don't know. It's kind of I'm falling into a trap with AEW where I maybe miss a show or two, and I don't feel like I miss much. I feel like everything is kind of the same with AEW. How about you?
Yeah, it's a lot easier to, oh, whoops, we skipped an episode, or oh, whoops, we skipped a couple weeks. Oh, well, nothing really changed. And I mean, we had some high hopes ish going into WrestleDream, and we both were kind of in agreement, and I don't know about our listeners or anybody, but yeah, it was pretty average.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't horrible. It was just it was there. It was a show, which is not a very good way to describe a pay-per-view. I don't know about you, but there were definitely some matches where it really was tough for me to pay attention during them, but we kind of talked about it a little bit before we came on here. I think it's also just because we had seen some of these matches before, so there really wasn't a need to pay attention, but it also wasn't like they were forcing us to pay attention either.
Right.
It was just kind of like it was there.
Yeah. A lot of the matches, I mean, we kind of always talk about it anytime we talk about these AEW pay-per-views. What's one thing we always kind of measure it by, whether or not it deserves to be on the pay-per-view or it could have been sufficient on one of the TV shows, so we always kind of have one or two of those in these pay-per-views that are kind of like, well, this is probably better suited on TV on Dynamite or Collision, and this pay-per-view honestly was no different. It had a couple of its own that were kind of like, okay, this should have been on Dynamite or something like that. But I was just, again, there was a couple bright spots. There were a couple bright spots. Yeah. Like I'm really excited at the fact that Mercedes Moné, despite this whole 12 now, because now she has 12 belts.
Yeah, we blinked.
Yeah, but despite that, like, her wrestling on the AEW shows has been pretty good.
Yeah, that was a bright spot, although I wasn't really a fan of how that whole segment after the Statlander and Tony match came to be, but we'll get to that when we talk about it. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting going into Full Gear, but the best way I can put the way I felt about this pay-per-view was I felt so bad for my my boss, because I feel like I've talked about it a little bit on here, that he's also a wrestling fan, mainly an AEW fan, so we talk about it all the time. And after every pay-per-view, he always asks me, yeah, so what do you think of the pay-per-view? Except this time he's like, yeah, so what did you think of it? I didn't get to the last two matches yet. And I'm like, oh boy. Like, how do I fucking tell you that was not? I said, well, it was okay. I said the best way I can put it, and the best way I can put it for the listeners until we actually get to it, meaning the main event. Mm-hmm. Do not expect what you thought you were supposed to expect from a match like that. And he just kind of looked at me and he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, for the people involved, for the stipulation that match had, what we actually saw was, at least for me, very disappointing. I said, so pretty much anything you expected from this match, any weapons that they could have used, certain spots they might have tried to do, don't expect to see any of that.
Right.
And he's like, well, that's a bummer. I'm like, I know. And Granted, supposedly there were some reasons for that, but I also don't think that that should be used as an excuse. But again, we'll save that for when we get to the main event. But yeah, the pay-per-view itself was all right. Was it worth the money? I feel like that's the best way we can gauge AEW pay-per-views, especially besides the, oh, does this belong on the card? It's also was this worth the full price tag? And honestly, no, I don't think it was.
Wow.
I don't know about you, but I don't think it was worth.
No,
because we pretty much have to go because it's not. Well, I mean, can't say it's like WWE now because it's more expensive for them too. But I feel like when you're paying $40 to $60, depending on where you get it, you better be getting your money's worth. And unfortunately, we have had a habit sometimes with AEW pay-per-views where we see it and we're like, huh, this really was not worth the full price. And it's a shame because, like we said, the show wasn't terrible. It just wasn't worth the $50 to $60 price tag that came with it, which it's not always the best indication of a show, but that's just AEW sometimes, unfortunately, and you just gotta grin and bear it, I guess.
Yeah, like you said, we're gonna go through all of it and also give our ratings for each match, and on this scale of 1 to 5. Flames, of course, not stars, but flames, because we know everybody's sick of star ratings and matches like that. But just to break everything down and let everybody know at home, I'm going to be reading off notes that I took during the show. So if it sounds like I'm kind of being monotone or like reading off a teleprompter, it's because I'm basically reading off my notes. Because if I didn't take notes on, especially this pay-per-view, if I didn't take notes on this pay-per-view, we would be in trouble because it would be a lot of like that. So it's a good thing I took notes on this pay-per-view. I took notes on every match. So if it sounds like I'm reading off of something, it's because I am. All right. So bear with me as we get through it. But let's start off the show. Is AEW WrestleDream. The telecast begins with the finale of the pre-show still battling out for a winner.
That was wild.
Yeah, I can't tell if I'm a fan of this tactic, but the great work that FTR and JetSpeed did for the first 10 minutes of the pay-per-view did its job for me and made me go, fine, I'll start watching the pre-show. I don't know about you. Did you think that this was a smart tactic to start the show off with the match that was going on in the pre-show?
I mean, I feel like, can it work? Yes. I feel like you have to have the right people involved, though, because if it's just we'll just say, I mean, obviously, JetSpeed and FTR were good choices. It could have been a lot worse. Like, say, no offense, you hate to say it, but if it was like Ricochet and what was it, the Demand or whatever, and somebody else, then it would have been like, I don't really give a fuck about this match opening, but it's something new, so I'll at least give them props for trying something. Should they do it all the time? No. Like I said, it just kind of depends on who's involved in the very last like pre-show. If it's the women, that'd be kind of interesting. I'd like to see maybe have the women do that, and because clearly we're dead set on putting them on the pre-show too, so try it with them. Maybe I just wouldn't make it a habit because then I feel like it'll just become too repetitive and everyone's going to expect it, and it's not going to be the shock value is not going to be there. I don't think. I think it was just the kind of why is this match still going on? This show's starting in like 30 seconds. Oh, it's just gonna go right into the show. Hey, why not? Like, that was more or less my feeling. I'm like, oh, we're really doing this? Sure, why not?
Yeah.
So I didn't hate it. I thought it was something creative, so I'll give them props for that.
Yeah, it definitely made me say now start watching the pre-show just in case something crazy happened. And the finish came when Bayley went for a suplex near the ropes and near Stokely Hathaway, where Stokely grabs the legs of Bayley from the outside, not letting him kick out of Harwood's cover. FTR gets the win, and the crowd is legit pissed. This is one thing I noted. The crowd was really hot, especially for this match, and they were legit pissed that FTR cheated to win. No grade for half a match, but an interesting way to start the pay-per-view for me.
we'll give them one flame just because it happened. Like we'll
Yeah.
give them something.
Well, that I was just so surprised at how like visceral the crowd was when the finish came, and like Stokely was holding down his. I mean, that just shows that they're doing a good job. You know, that they're doing their job being bad guys.
Oh yeah, like they hate FTR right now, and I mean for good reason. They've been complete assholes for a couple months now, so doing their job right.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. The wife of Lou Thez, Charlie Thez, is on hand and gets a nice reception from the St. Louis crowd, leading us to the beginning of the pay-per-view. Our opening contest is a women's match. It is Tekla taking on Jamie Hayter, and this was an incredibly hard-hitting physical match on both sides. A large portion of the beginning of the match took place on the outside, with Hayter even involving Charlie Thez, which I thought was pretty cool. Back inside the ring, it was a battle of will, with both women throwing their hardest shots. The ending came with Tekla doing her creepy spider walk, but running into a huge lariat from Hayter. Jamie follows it up with the Haterade and gets the win. I really enjoyed how hard hitting this was. I gave it 3 3/4 flames out of 5.
I also gave it 3 3/4 flames. Honestly, I was a little surprised that this was the opening match, but I also wasn't complaining either because we knew going into this that it was going to be hard hitting because they are two of the hardest hitting women on in the division. So this wasn't going to be a bit of a surprise at all. And I think a lot of people, I'm sure you included, were kind of surprised that Tekla lost.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not upset for obvious reasons because that was the one we were split on. But thank you to Jamie for pulling through. But granted, I think a lot of people were thinking that, oh well, if Tekla beats someone like Jamie Hayter, that's like a big deal. Like this could like push her even more up the card. Except I feel like I said originally, the whole blood and guts thing, I think maybe they might give it to maybe Tekla will score the pinfall in blood and guts for all we know. It's just give it a little bit of time. Just because she loses doesn't mean it's the end of the world. She's still one of the best in the division. She's definitely becoming one of my quick favorites. Like I said, she's really impressed me since she's joined AEW. And yeah, this match was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I feel like my favorite part was when they were both up on the turnbuckle and Tekla kind of did that thing of like she kind of like pulled herself back up,
Yeah.
and then Jamie like she tried to hit Jamie and knocked her off. So I thought that was kind of a cool spot. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. It was a great start to the pay-per-view. It's just a shame that it kind of started to slide a little bit after this and the following match, but I digress, though. I also gave it 3 3/4 flames, and I am glad that Jamie pulled through for me with the predictions. So thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that was the one match that separated us. Usually, we're both usually on the same page when it comes to predicting these outcomes. I haven't been doing so good these past couple of pay-per-views. I've just been taking L after L after L. I don't know what's going on with me, but I definitely enjoyed this match. I thought it was a great match, kind of a great showing from Tekla to solidify her in the division as one of the top tier in the division. Like if there was a hierarchy, she'd be in the upper echelon part of the division. And Hayter reestablishes herself as a threat, and maybe a win can get her into the main event picture for the AEW Women's Championship.
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it. So now we just got to turn to blood and guts because that's what I've been waiting for a little while now. So I'll be very interested to see how that shakes out.
Yep, November 12th is Blood and Guts. I don't know if they're going to be doing a men's Blood and Guts match, but we already know the women are going to set to be having their own Blood and Guts match, and they're probably going to outdo the men, I think.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. It's going to be wild.
Let's hope they don't do it in a place where like the rules are very strict with the Pro Wrestling Commission like they were here for WrestleDream.
Yeah, don't even get me started. Well, I'll save it for when we need it, but fucking commissions. But anyway.
All right. So next up on the card, this match was for 500K, and it was between the Young Bucks taking on the reunited Jurassic Express. For me, this was a fun tag team watch. It kept the crowd locked in with great near falls and nicely executed hot tag to Luchasaurus, who was way over with the crowd. Nothing too much to note outside of it being a fine back and forth tag team wrestling match. Jurassic Express hit the countdown to extinction for the win, and Jurassic Express is 500K richer. I gave this match 3.5 flames out of 5. Nothing big to note. A standard Young Bucks match. Basically everything you would expect in a Young Bucks match, you basically got it here. They kind of want to establish Jurassic Express as a formidable tag team in the tag team division. So this is probably why they gave them the win. Now, do you think this loss kind of hurts the Young Bucks? I don't see it really mattering at this point.
I don't think so, because it's kind of tough, because I feel like, yeah, they need to start picking up some wins, but I feel like you definitely have to continue to hammer home the fact that they're not EVPs anymore. They're broke. They're losing money. They barely even had enough money for an entrance, because that entrance was something else. It was funny. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's not going to hurt them because they're the Young Bucks. It's going to take a lot more than that to hurt them. But as far as the match goes, yeah, I agree that it wasn't anything. I'm not going to say it wasn't anything spectacular, because both these teams have had great chemistry before, and it was par for the course on this one, so I wasn't surprised there. I was very impressed by the fact that Jurassic Express haven't been a team in like 4 years, and it was like they never missed a beat. That chemistry was still there. It was insane. It was great that the chemistry was still there with the Young Bucks, so that wasn't new. So yeah, I also gave it 3.5. It was fun. I feel like it was more interesting to see what happened afterwards with the whole Don Callis family and Kenny coming in, and are the Young Bucks finally going to have a change of heart eventually, because Jurassic Express was trying to be nice. They were trying to give them something. They gave them like a couple $100 each, so it was something. They were trying to be nice, but yeah, maybe we're going to be getting the good guy Young Bucks back at some point, because I feel like that might be interesting. It might be a good redemption story. So yeah, but match itself, 3.5 flames.
Right. After the match, Josh Alexander, Mark Davis, and Lance Archer hit the ring and attacked Jurassic Express. The focus was on the Young Bucks to see if they were going to come to the aid of Jurassic Express, who were showing them respect at the conclusion of the match. The Bucks do not come to the aid of Jurassic Express, but Kenny Omega does. The trio of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks or Jurassic Express rather, is enough to fight off the members of the Don Callis family. So the Young Bucks don't come to the aid of Jurassic Express, but it kind of teased that maybe they would. And like you said earlier, just a couple seconds ago, maybe we're getting the good guy Young Bucks in this iteration of AEW.
Maybe. I mean, they've been heels for so long that maybe we need to see them as good guys again. It's been way too long. So I say go for it, because it wouldn't hurt them, really. I mean, people are going to love the Bucks no matter what. So yeah, I say go for it.
Yeah, I would. It would definitely be interesting to see if they can get the Elite back together and go from there and see what they can drum up there. But it remains to be seen, especially with the Don Callis family. I feel like everybody is in the Don Callis family. So
we're probably in the Don Callis family. We don't even know it.
Yeah, I feel like I am. I'm on the payroll. They better start.
I wish.
Paying my bills.
Really, if it were that easy.
Yeah, right. Next up, we have the Hurt Syndicate, MVP Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin taking on the Demand, which is Ricochet, Toa Leona, and Bishop Khan in a tornado tag match. This one, for me, felt like it would have been better suited on a Dynamite or Collision. There was certainly nothing wrong with the match. There was just nothing to go crazy over. There was no real taking advantage of the tornado tag rules other than a measly table spot and no tags. The end came when Ricochet found himself all alone in the ring with all 3 members of the Hurt Syndicate. Bishop Khan pulled Ricochet out of the ring, taking the bullet for him, and then He took the bullet for Ricochet, which came in the form of a knee strike from MVP, a step-up knee strike from Shelton Benjamin, ending with a spear from Bobby Lashley. Hurt Syndicate get the win. I gave this one 3 1/4 flames out of 5. I mean, nothing. This was kind of one of those that kind of point to the midness of this pay-per-view. I like the Hurt Syndicate, but these tag matches where they're just dominating everyone really don't do them a service on a pay-per-view.
No, and I feel like you already had these two teams in a street fight right before the pay-per-view. So the question is why was this? How is this going to be better?
Right.
And honestly, it wasn't. It was just, and it's sad because it wasn't a terrible match. It wasn't. It was just, it was there. It was just a match that happened and it ended, and that was it. Because like this was one of those that I kind of touched on earlier where it was very hard to pay attention to because I'm like, there's no need.
Right.
Like there's really no need for me to pay attention to this match because it's there. It should have been on a Dynamite. It should have been on a Collision. It was just whatever. And the thing that was kind of funny about this match was there were a couple on the card that were very long. There were some where it just felt like it was going on and on and on and on and would not end. And I think we'll be getting into one of those in a minute. But this one almost felt like way too short in comparison, where it was like, I'm fighting to pay attention and then I blink and then it's pretty much over. I'm like, okay, well, what's the next match? Which is sad because it's just, you just don't care because it was, again, a match that happened and it ended. And now I would like to think we're not going to have to deal with this feud again, but I feel like from what I was seeing on Twitter before we came on here, we're probably still going to see it. So, I hope not. If we get another pay-per-view match out of this, I'm going to scream. Like, we didn't need this one. And the fact that we got it is just head scratching to me, but whatever. I also gave it a whopping 3 1/4 flame. And, yeah, it was just, it was there.
Wow. We're both on the same page as far as our ratings, at least.
Yeah. So we restored balance, so it's fine.
Yeah, there you go. Next up, the next match on the card was for the TNT Championship. Kyle Fletcher defending the title against Mark Briscoe. Now, I had a hard time coming to the conclusion whether this match was right for this show or better suited on TV programming like the match before. The match was fine, a solid back and forth battle, but it was no different than the other back and forth battles we've already seen tonight. Maybe it's the pay-per-view being standard currently and nothing blowing me away. That's the best way I could describe the match. Good, standard, but nothing mind-blowing. Kyle Fletcher retaining the TNT Championship. I gave this match 3 1/2 flames out of 5.
Yeah, I honestly would have given it 3 1/4 or just a 3 1/4, but I feel like it was good for their standards. They've always had good matches, both of them, so it wasn't really a surprise. But again, we've seen this before. And kind of what I mentioned earlier is that once the Jamie and Tekla match and the Jurassic Express Young Bucks match were over, I think that's when everything kind of started to slide downhill. And it's a shame because you're kind of supposed to keep that going throughout the whole pay-per-view, not just the first 2 matches. But here we were. But yeah, it was good. As to be expected between the two of them. It's just a fact of it. I think what kind of took it away from me and the fact that I agree with you, it definitely should have been on a Dynamite or a Collision. It was the fact that we knew Briscoe wasn't going to win, which is like, it's sad, but it's just, it's kind of hard to see him actually win a title. Maybe not ever in AEW, but I feel like the timing would have to be very specific. And I just think with the current champions they have now, I just don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But unfortunately, wrestling's all about timing, and it's just not right timing for him, at least right now. Maybe later, but I don't know. But
it's interesting you say that, though, because he is coming off a pay-per-view win, defeating MJF of all people. And that's a big win right there. So you would think that would carry some momentum with it.
You would think, but I feel like it's more or less just it's not so much him, it's just who the champions are right now, where it's like maybe if it was like somebody else, it would, oh yeah, well maybe we could see him beating insert whoever here, but you just can't have him beating somebody like Kyle Fletcher right now. You can't really see him beating somebody like Okada right now, and you really can't see him beating somebody like Hangman right now. So it's just yeah, it really is a shame because yeah, he did beat MJF and that was a really good match, and it's just kind of I don't know. You just feel bad because the crowd loves him
Yeah.
for good reason. He's not a terrible wrestler. He's great. It's just his timing's never on his side, and it remains to be seen if that's ever going to actually happen. But
Yeah.
for now, Kyle wasn't losing that match, and it wasn't going to be even close.
I agree definitely for sure. And honestly, it kind of, because Mark Briscoe says he no longer wants to be in a tag team, you know, without his brother, which is understandable, but that kind of relegates him to being a singles competitor. And sometimes they'll have a spot for him, sometimes they won't. So you never know what you're going to get with Mark Briscoe now.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just like, and you can't blame him because when you team for your brother with your brother for most of your career, and then something like that happens, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to be with anybody else. So it's just that's just the wrestling business sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. But solid match nonetheless. Just nothing to go crazy over. And Kyle Fletcher once again retains the TNT Championship. Next up on the card was for the AEW Women's World Championship, where Timeless Toni Storm, or rather, well, Timeless Toni Storm was going after the new champion, Chris Statlander, to try to regain the AEW Women's World Championship. And for me, this was a solid wrestling match with both women matching each other move for move and hold for hold. I personally enjoyed the finish not being your run-of-the-mill opponent just passing out from a submission and making them earn the win. While Statlander had Storm in a seated abdominal stretch, Storm kept screaming, "You're going to have to fucking kill me." This forces Statlander to abandon the submission and hit Storm with the Saturday Night Fever and get the win. Toni Storm hands Chris Statlander the title belt in a show of respect, and I give this match 3 3/4 flames out of 5.
I did too. We talked about on the prediction show that this was one of my most anticipated matches of the night, and it definitely lived up to it because you knew with as good as these two are, these are, I mean, and even the commentary team highlighted it. These are probably two of, if not the best two women's wrestlers on the division right now. And it was just, I definitely agree with the ending where you're kind of just sitting there, and unfortunately that's kind of been a crutch with AEW sometimes where, oh, well, we just have to have them pass out instead of like tap because that makes them look really strong. Except the problem is that is a good thing to use sometimes. It's just, it's been so overused in AEW, you almost expect it now, which is the worst thing you can do. So I was fully expecting Toni to pass out, and she just kept sitting in that and sitting in that. It was a good, like, what, 2 minutes, I think, that she was in that hold, which is impressive. And then when she said, "You're gonna have to fucking kill me," I'm like, oh, this is how we're gonna do it. Okay, that's cool. So I'm glad that they kind of moved away from the crutch and actually had a unique ending. And I was very happy with it. I feel like we knew Stat was gonna win because you have to establish her somehow, and to have someone beat Toni Storm legit one-on-one is a really big deal because she's been a face of the division for the last few years now. So this was Stats giving her the flowers kind of match, which kind of annoyed me how Mercedes, I mean, I'm not mad that Mercedes like stole the thunder afterwards. That's just something Mercedes would do. I just didn't like the fact that she comes out ready for her open challenge and she's like, okay, now get the hell out of my ring. And Stat just does it.
Yeah, I thought that was weird as well.
I'm like, dude, come on. Like, technically on paper, you are more important than Mercedes Moné right now. You're the champ.
Right.
So I didn't like that at all. We'll get to that other match in a minute, but yeah, I was definitely happy with Toni and Stat's match. I'm glad that the crowd, because you kind of the crowds make me nervous sometimes because with as popular as Tony was, I was worried that they were going to fully turn on Stat. Not fully, but just for that match because, again, crowds can be very unpredictable. So the fact that they were getting clear 50-50 chance, I was like, okay, good. So we definitely got a lot of Stat supporters in here, so that's good. I'm glad that they gave her respect as she should have. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed the match. It was one of my favorites of the night. And I too gave it 3 3/4 flames.
Nice. Chris Statlander's celebration is cut short by the TBS champion, Mercedes Moné, coming out with not only her TBS championship title, but the frat party carrying out her other 9 titles. At the time, she only had 10 belts. Now, by the end of the weekend, she ended up with 12. So this is just nuts. Like you said earlier, Moné kicks Statlander out of the ring and plans to celebrate her record-breaking TBS championship title reign with an open challenge to challenge any sort of champion in the back willing to put their title on the line in a title versus title match. Now, this open challenge is answered by the ROH Women's TV Champion, Mina Shirakawa, and we have a match. It is title for title, Mercedes Moné versus Mina Shirakawa. I may be wrong, but this is the first time of the night I see a competitor work a body part that would help them work their finisher better. Shirakawa kept working the left knee of Moné and putting on a figure 4 leg lock multiple times throughout the match. This is probably the best Mina Shirakawa match I've seen in her career, as it looked like she was taking Moné to the limit with each move. Great drama on the submission moves and excellent work having Shirakawa kick out of the Moné maker by simply putting her finger on the rope. The finish with having Mercedes catching Mina in a roll-up near the ropes and Mercedes latching her foot onto the rope for extra leverage and getting the win. So, of course, Mercedes had to cheat. Mercedes is now an 11 title champion, passing Ultimo Dragon for the record. Again, solid match and a star-making performance from Mina Shirakawa. I gave this one 3 3/4 out of 5. What about you?
I shockingly also gave it 3 3/4 out of 5. It sucked seeing Mina lose, but I feel like it was more or less the way she lost was very telling, because I feel like if memory serves me right, I'm sure maybe I can get corrected later on, but I feel like this was the first time Mercedes had to genuinely cheat to win one of these titles. So I feel like we're starting to see the cracks a little bit where, and you even saw it during the match, she was having a meltdown. She was panicking. She's like, I don't know what I have to do to beat her. And so she had to cheat. That was the only way she could do this. So I feel like heading into, because obviously by now everyone knows the Full Gear is going to be Stat and Mercedes title. Well, it's winner take all, I'm pretty sure. It's title versus title. And I think a lot of people are very nervous about that because they're like, they can't do this to Stat already. She can't lose. And I agree. Stat can't lose this title yet. But I feel like the story, at least I think they're trying to tell, and I hope I'm not wrong, I feel like they're going to try and spin the story of Mercedes has all these belts because she knows she can't win the big one, because she hasn't yet. She lost to Tony, hasn't won the AEW Women's Championship yet. So to overcompensate for it, she has to go out to all of these other indie promotions and win these titles because she can't win the big one that she wants. And I mean, obviously this is like an early prediction, but I hope I'm not wrong. Do I think Stat's going to lose to her at Full Gear? Absolutely not. If she does, I think it's going to be a horrible mistake. I feel like there's more story if Mercedes loses again, because to be fair, she's had Stat's number. She's beaten Stat the 2 times they've wrestled. So I feel like, number one, Stat deserves to win that one. But I also feel like I just don't like the fact of then if Mercedes loses, she loses that title, so Stat has both, which, I mean, I'm not going to complain about that, but I just feel like they kind of booked themselves into a corner a little bit on that one, because I feel like it would have been if I had the pencil. We always talk about if I had the pencil. I would, if I were Mercedes, be so frazzled about the fact that I was this close to losing that title that she doesn't put it on the line against Stat at Full Gear. She's like, I only want this match if your championship's on the line, but not mine. And Stat like fully calls her out on it. It's like, are you that worried that you almost lost that the first time that you're going to lose it again? But clearly I don't have the pencil. I feel like that would have been a very interesting wrinkle into it. But yeah, I feel like we're about to see I mean, on paper, the downfall of Mercedes Moné, but I think also at the same time, I think they're kind of looking past the fact that once she starts losing these belts, it's going to be insane. Because will it be one after the other? Who knows? That remains to be seen. But someone made a good point. I can't fully take credit for this. Someone on Twitter said she's about to make a lot of people on the indies losing these belts. Because it's going to be a big deal when she loses them. And obviously, whoever beats her for these titles can get to say they beat Mercedes Moné, which is no small feat. That is a big deal. So she's about to put a lot of people over the next however long when she starts to lose. But I feel like, granted, could AEW have done it better? Yes, but I feel like we could say that about a lot of things about AEW. However, I feel like the match of Full Gear is going to be great. I'm excited for it. I just think that this is going to be the start of the downfall of Mercedes Moné. But for now, good for her for getting all these titles. Good for her for breaking Ultimo Dragon's reign. I know a lot of people are like sick of it by now, but it's like, guys, you kind of should know. You should know what to expect at this point. But just because she's winning all of them doesn't mean she's keeping all of them. So
yeah, eventually she's got to lose, you know?
Yeah, so it's like you guys have to be a little patient.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. But yeah, the match itself was pretty good. I think I also gave it 3 3/4 flames as well. But yeah, I definitely couldn't complain. I hated seeing Mina be so sad, but like that thing with her and Tony backstage later in the show, it was just like, oh, it's like, oh, you guys are gonna make me sad. But you know what? At least they still have each other, and you know, inevitably they're gonna be in this AEW Women's Tag Title tournament. So
that's coming
I'll be
up.
excited to, yeah, and I'll be excited to see what they can do. But yeah, it was a really good match. Like I said, this is one of the bright spots. We kind of talked about it. They were kind of few and far in between in this pay-per-view, unfortunately, but this was one of them. So I also gave Mercedes and Mina 3 3/4 flames.
All right, so Mercedes Moné's championship celebration is cut short by the AEW Women's World Champion Chris Statlander, whose dispatches of Moné as a measure of revenge for dissing her at the conclusion of Statlander's match. So I wonder if they're building towards a total takeover of the women's division by Moné. We see later on in the evening, we hear from Moné. She throws down the challenge to see if Chris Statlander will meet her at Full Gear. Now, they said it was for the Women's World Championship. We don't know if it's a title for title. It could develop into
it is.
Okay, so it could develop into a title for title.
I'll check.
But either way, it's good. Like you said, it's going to be good stuff. I'm excited because those two really do have some good chemistry, and Mercedes always speaks very highly of Chris Statlander. Because they met before in the ring, so she always speaks very highly of her as one of her favorite opponents and her favorite people to be in the rings with. So when you have that sort of trust and camaraderie with an opponent, it makes for good matches on pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's saying on Wikipedia that the women's AEW Women's Championship's on the line, but I could have swore I thought I saw somewhere that it was a winner take all. But let me just double check here. Well, apparently Stat said I've already... Wait a minute, that's not right, though. Stat hasn't beaten Mercedes, though, so I'm not sure. I think that might have been a typo, but I feel like... I could have swore I thought it was winner take all. I could be wrong. Maybe they'll change it by the time we get our predictions in a couple weeks, but... either way, I'm excited for that match because they've had fantastic matches in the past, and I'm sure this one's going to be no different.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good wrestling contest between the ladies. And like I said, this pay-per-view in particular had a lot of low spots, but I was pleasantly surprised. And I've been pleasantly surprised. I feel like I say it a lot at the recent performances of Mercedes Moné, because she started out so glaringly coasting in her AEW career that now every single match that she has that becomes a banger, you're just really blown away by.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I think she finally put the pedal to the metal, I guess. I don't know. I mean, we're glad she did because it's just like this is what we've been waiting to see. So I'm glad we're finally getting it.
Yeah, for sure. So once again, shout out to Chris Statlander and Mercedes Moné. They're gonna meet each other at Full Gear. We just have to wonder and see if it's gonna be a winner take all, or if it's just gonna be for the AEW Women's World Championship. And is Mercedes Moné trying to take over the entire division?
Yeah, I mean, I hope Stat takes over the entire division, but that's just me. I'm also very biased.
All right. So next up on the card was for the AEW Tag Team Championship, which has the champions Brody King, and Bandito taking on Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita. The main thing I was looking for in this match was whether Okada and Takeshita could work together as a team to win the titles. For the most part, they did work together as a solid unit, even doing the smart thing and working the injured shoulder of Bandito. Things sort of became unglued when Bandito was left in the ring to fight off Okada and Takeshita alone, when Bandito is able to duck a Rainmaker attempt from Okada, who accidentally hit Takeshita with the lariat. This issue was the issue with this one was the smile on Okada's face that showed he certainly wasn't sorry for the miscommunication. Bandito attempts a 21 plex, but his shoulder is too badly damaged. Brody King gives Bandito some added motivation before diving to the outside to take out Takeshita. Bandito hits a one-arm 21 plex on Okada and gets the win. I certainly didn't see Okada eating the pin for this one, but this was a solid tag team match on all sides. Best match of the night so far up to this point. I gave it 3 3/4 flames out of 5.
I too gave it 3 3/4 flames, except holy fuck was this match long.
It was really long.
So long. It was like, guys, you could have shaved 10-15 minutes off this match and it would have been just as good. But no, it was a very good match. We were interested to see if there was going to be any drama between Okada and Takeshita, and boy, was there. Just that the smile on Okada's face when he hit Takeshita was just it was just priceless. I thought it was hilarious. But yeah, I'm glad the Brodito kept those titles, because then we wouldn't have looked like total idiots because we picked them, because we were pretty like back and forth on this one on the predictions. We did not know who was going to win that one, so I'm glad we were correct. But yeah, he one arm 22 plex was insane. Like that was so fucking impressive. It was just, or 21. I don't know why you would have thought of all people I would say 21 because it's my lucky number, but I digress though. But a one arm 21 plex was fucking impressive. I was probably my favorite besides Okada hitting Takeshita. That was probably my favorite spot of the entire match. But yeah, I might have even given it an extra like quarter flame if it was a little shorter, but it was a very good match. I enjoyed it, even though I was struggling to get through the whole thing because I wish it would have just ended. But no, very good match. Also, like I said, 3 3/4 flames, and very good, very good. Can't complain with that one.
Definitely. Backstage, we meet up with Toni Storm, who looks absolutely shell-shocked after losing to Chris Statlander. Mina Shirakawa appears, and Toni says they have lost everything. Mina reminds Toni that they still have each other. So I didn't know what the point of this segment was, but like you said, it could lead to them being a part of the women's tag team title tournament situation. So you never know. Maybe that's what they're leading to. I mean, Toni Storm doesn't necessarily need another championship title reign. Like she could give it a rest, and this is a perfect way. I'm not necessarily saying that they are going to win the tournament, but if they're even in the tournament, this is a good way to kind of segue her out of the main event picture for a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree that her and Mina don't need those titles right away because I know when I was talking about about it with my boss, he's just like, "Oh yeah, I think they're gonna win them." I'm like, I really hope they don't. Not for the fact that I don't want to see it because I feel like it would be very entertaining and very hilarious, but Tony doesn't need it. And honestly, I don't think Mina really needs it either. They both are just going to be able to play off of each other so well that it doesn't matter if there's a title or two titles involved or not. Um but yeah, it was just I mean, I thought the segment was kind of cute, not gonna lie. I thought
Mhm.
it was just like, this is just adorable. The two girlfriends just, consoling each other. So I thought it was great. But yeah, I'm excited to see inevitably them in the tournament because I'd be very shocked if they weren't. So I'll be interested to see what they can do with them. You know they're gonna make a great team because they're just both very charismatic and just fantastic in the ring. So you just expect them to be a fantastic team. So I'm interested. I think they were announcing the brackets tonight, I think, but
Yeah.
obviously I haven't seen it yet, obviously, because we're too busy recording this. But I'm sure we'll see him later when we're done or tomorrow, and then we'll really get to see who's going to win those titles. I honestly would selfishly want Julia and Sky to win them because I
Mm.
feel like it would just be kind of cool. But I mean, you could really look at any of these teams that you could pretty much guarantee are in this. I know some are kind of we haven't figured it out yet, but you could pretty much have any of these teams win, and it wouldn't be um, there wouldn't be outrage. I mean, who am I kidding? There's always going to be outrage on the internet. It's the internet. So there are some teams that would make more sense to have them win than others, but they're all just fantastic, like competitors in their own right. So it really wouldn't be an insult to have either one of these teams or any of these teams win. But yeah, I still think my pick selfishly would be Julian Sky, but we'll have to see how the brackets shake up.
That's a solid pick. I definitely like you said that. And the thing is, there's a lot of teams that could be made up. Like there's Ty Mello, Anna Jay, there's
Yeah.
Julia Hart, Sky Blue,
Megan and
there's
Penelope.
Megan Penelope, uh
I think Willow
Willow
and Harley.
Willow and Harley. You know, Harley's kind of, she can mesh with kind of anybody. She kind of bounces
Yeah.
off a bunch of different people, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I you know, this it's going to be very interesting to see, and I think it's good for AEW to get out and be in the forefront of this, being the forerunners of someone that's taking a chance on a women's tag team championships, because we know the other side of the wrestling world, those things are kind of cursed. So
Yeah, yeah, let's not talk about those.
yeah,
Those are kind of just
those are kind
which
of,
is a shame.
yeah, those are kind of cursed. So hopefully, AEW can do right by women's wrestling and have a solid tag team division built up for the ladies.
Please, I'm hoping. It's like, guys, it's really not that hard. Just look at what the other side of the aisle's doing
Hmm.
and don't do that.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it. Just don't make their mistakes.
There you go. There you go. All right. So next up on the card was for the AEW Men's World Championship, where we had the champion Hangman Adam Page defend the title against Samoa Joe. This wasn't a bad match. It was very solid. In fact, it just didn't have the drama you would expect for a world title pay-per-view match. This felt very dynamite main event. Nothing really major to note in this one. Joe did some moves. Hangman did some moves, and that's how the match went on. Hangman, yeah, Hangman hit Joe with the dead eye, and as they're showing the replay, Hangman hits Joe with a buckshot lariat, cutting the replay short, but Joe won't go down. Hangman hits another buckshot lariat, and Joe still won't go down. Finally, after a third buckshot lariat, Joe goes down for the 3 count, and Hangman retains. This match really didn't do anything for me. Kind of disappointed in a world title match like this. I gave it 3 1/4 flames out of 5.
Oh, brutal on that one. It it's kind of sad though that the way you described it was pretty much the best way to do it. Joe did some moves, Hangman did some moves, Hangman won. The worst part about it is that yeah, it wasn't kind of like what I always say, it wasn't horrifically offensively bad. It was there. It was a
Mhm.
match. Um I I hate that I have to agree with you that it was 3 1/4 flames because it's like it moved the flames just slightly, and that was kind of it. But I think the most damning thing about this match is that I don't think anyone could really tell you anything that happened during the match, but could sure as shit talk about what happened afterwards.
Yeah,
And when what happened afterwards overshadows your match, not always a good thing, but especially with this one because that's your world champion and no one gave a shit about the match. They cared about what happened afterwards. What happened afterwards was great.
yeah,
I love what happened afterwards because you weren't expecting it. Like you have Hangman being the noble champion that he always is. Everyone in the crowd's cheering for Joe because good for him. Because I don't know if you heard this. Mom told me that she heard that Joe was considering retirement soon or something, which at the time I'm like, that sounds kind of weird. I don't know what's up with that.
I know they did talk to him about it, and he had mentioned that he didn't want like a big fanfare send off like everybody else is getting.
Oh, so that makes that ending a lot more impactful then, because I think people probably heard that and are like, oh shit, this might actually be it. And then him and the ops had to turn into a bunch of assholes, and the crowd was pissed. Oh, the
Yeah.
crowd was so fucking mad for good reason, because everyone holds Samoa Joe in such high esteem that when he pulls something like he and the ops did, it's like, how dare you? It's like you insulted the entire fan base, but it worked really well. It was shocking.
It did. What you're alluding to is after the match, after the typical show of respect, we see Samoa Joe turn sides and just beat down Hangman Adam Page along with Powerhouse Hobbs and Katsuyori Shibata, who really surprised me.
Yeah.
Kind of getting into this role of bad guy. We see the bad guys, the ops, beat down Hangman Adam Page, and like you said, it was shocking. It's different. We weren't expecting it. We were expecting like the typical show of respect, and we got something completely different.
Yeah, and now it kind of makes you wonder a little bit. I mean, obviously Joe's not going to be done with Hangman just yet, which that's fine. I'm not like too upset about it. But now I kind of wondered in the back of my head. I'm like, are the ops gonna mix it up now with the Hook, and is Eddie Kingston gonna get involved because they're like homies? So I wouldn't be upset about that. I think that'd be a really good feud. But that remains to be seen if we're gonna see that, because I feel like I said, Joe's still going to be involved in the title picture for a little bit, I would think. But yeah, the ending the ending was a lot better than the match itself, which is it's not the best thing to say, but it's true. But yeah, it was Shibata I did not see coming at all.
Yeah.
Like Hobbs, we've seen him as a bad guy. That's nothing new. Joe, he's been a bad guy before. That's nothing new. But Shibata, man, like, damn it. Like, you're kind of just like, not you too. Like, fuck. But it made it more impactful, where it's like, geez, even you were gonna turn? Damn, this really is like a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. So it's interesting. Maybe, I don't know if this is going to carry on to a lengthy feud between Samoa Joe and Hangman Page, but I'm definitely into it. I'm just hoping that it would make a better match than what we saw in the pay-per-view, because for me, the match that we saw on pay-per-view felt like a main event to Dynamite. It didn't feel like a pay-per-view main event, especially for a world title, which is kind of disappointing because Hangman usually has bangers when it comes to this point, and this one was just kind of run-of-the-mill wrestling match,
Yeah, I'm wondering if it also possibly got overshadowed with what was to happen afterwards, like the actual main event, maybe. But as we will get to in about 30 seconds, hindsight, we didn't have to worry about it overshadowing the title. But at the time, you couldn't help but think, oh, well, maybe people are kind of like looking past this match because, we want to see the carnage we're about to witness with this I Quit match. And then it happened, and boy, do we have some things to say about that main event.
Well, let's talk about it. It is the I Quit match between Darby Allin and Jon Moxley. And yeah, I don't know if you would call this one much of a wrestling match, more so than a let's see what messed up stuff we can do to Darby Allin. The barbecue skewer through the fingernail was definitely disturbing.
I hated that. Oh my
I
god.
didn't like that at all.
Freaking me out all over again.
Yeah, we also saw
Ugh.
a taser being used and Darby Allin being repeatedly drowned in a large fish tank. I don't know who this match is catered to, but it sure isn't for me. Sting made an appearance for some reason. He gives Darby Allin his bat and then leaves. Darby starts whacking away at Moxley with the bat and then locks him in a Scorpion Deathlock, where apparently, because they weren't using a microphone on the opponents to see if they would say I quit, but Moxley quits in the Scorpion Deathlock. I thought it was very anticlimactic to lose to a basic wrestling submission after you were trying to murder your opponent, and you lose to a basic wrestling submission. This one, I just didn't enjoy it at all. I gave it 3 1/4 flame out of 5.
Cool, you were. This is the one time we're gonna be a little different. I didn't go below, but I just gave it a 3. And because here's the thing, we talked about it on the predictions episode. We were, quite frankly, nervous as to what we were going to see, because this is Jon Moxley, this is Darby Allin, this is an I Quit match. So we were scared of what we were going to see. We were going to see blood, we were going to see carnage, we were going to see glass, probably barbed wire, thumbtacks, everything. It was almost a matter of how fast are these two going to bleed, because you just know they're going to start bleeding. And then the match actually happens, and it's like, where's the blood? I mean, Darby bled a little bit, which is like fine, whatever, but it was like, Moxley's not bleeding. There's no thumbtacks. There's no barbed wire. There's no nothing. There's no just shattered glass. And then the ending happened, and it was like, that's it? It's like you're just kind of sitting there in shock, and not in a good way, where it's like, this got hyped up to be an absolute carnage match, and this is what we got instead? Like, what the fuck? And turns out, of course, that the Missouri Wrestling Commission or whatever had to stick their nose in, and apparently they have very strict rules about blood, and so apparently their rules affected every match on the card, which is like fine, whatever. But here's my thing when it comes to that, and you and I kind of talked about this a little bit. We were texting about it a couple days ago. I understand that that's a thing. The whole commission rules are just stupid anyway, so I mean, that's already a given. However, you as Tony Khan knew that this show was going to be in St. Louis for quite a while. Like, you have to know for quite a while where your shows are going to be. So you knew that this is where you were going to have this show. You knew what the rules were going to be, because if you try to say, oh yeah, I didn't know that that was actually a rule, you're lying. You're just flat out lying, because you have to follow these. You have to know the rules, or else you're going to get fined or worse or whatever. So why didn't you just, at this rate, wait until, like, say, Blood and Guts for this kind of match? Because you were just going to set yourself up for failure with this match, because yeah, there was some disturbing I mean, the fingernail thing still fucking freaks me out. I get that.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
I didn't either. It was just like, oh, this is just, ugh. I got a little squeamish for a minute, but that was pretty much really the only, like, hardcore. I mean, yeah, the drowning thing was odd, but it was also just kind of like, okay, well, sure, I guess.
They really couldn't do anything else.
No, and that was the thing. So it's just like, even the whole commission thing kind of fucked things up, but it's just like, you knew that going in. So you booked yourselves into a corner once again. AEW does this all the time, where it's just like, if you would have just thought some things through, maybe this wouldn't have turned into an absolute dud, because that's what a lot of people were saying. And I've seen some people try to justify the ending, especially, where it's like, oh, well, that's just telling the story of how Moxley's just actually weaker than he's supposed to be, and the facade's breaking. It's like, guys, you were really doing a lot of mental gymnastics with this one. Like, you just admit that it was terrible, because the thing is, Darby Allin we're not surprised. You can put the guy through hell. He's not going to say I quit. That's fine. But supposedly for somebody else like Moxley, that's pretty much the closest to meeting your match for Darby is him. So to have him lose in the middle of it looked like a pool because the water was just all over the place because they broke the aquarium or whatever, and you have him lose to a Scorpion Deathlock after getting beat in the back of the leg with a bat. So that's it. That's the best we can do here. Like, it was just, there were so many other ways you could have had that. And I mean, obviously we knew Darby hopefully was going to win, so that wasn't really like a shock. It was just how he won was just so disappointing. That's, I think, the best way to put this match. If we had to describe this match in one word, it was absolutely disappointing. Because just, again, who was in the match, what type of match it was, it just had the makings of an absolute just like horror movie on pay-per-view. And to just get what we did was just like, really? Like, that is probably the most disappointed I have been at the end of an AEW pay-per-view in quite some time. Where it's like, what we paid full price for that. So, yeah, I was not too thrilled about it. Just flat out gave it a 3 flames because it could have stayed 3 1/4 if there was just some more stuff involved, but then once the ending happened, I'm like, I'm taking it back. I take it back. I'm not, you guys don't deserve that extra quarter flame. So yeah, it's just and we even texted about it too, where it's like I said, AEW does this shit all the time, and it just boggles my mind that they continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again, and they do not learn. They just don't think things through, and they just expect people to be okay with it. And I mean, clearly, some people do mental gymnastics to try and justify it. And it's like, no, you can admit that it was a letdown because that's what it was. At the end of the day, that match was just a complete letdown, given all the circumstances surrounding it. It just takes the wind out of your sails, especially for the way that pay-per-view went too. It was just like, okay, well, the pay-per-view overall has been kind of but you know what? At least we're going to get a very, like, entertaining mess of a main event.
Right.
And then you get that, and it's just like, okay, or not. So that was just a waste of time. That was just a waste of time. So, so yeah, I was not too thrilled with that. The match itself, fine, whatever. The ending just completely killed it for me. So, yeah, I was not too thrilled. I don't give a shit about the commission rules, whatever. You knew the rules you had to abide by. You still wanted to, you were dead set on making that match in St. Louis that same night. That was your own fault then. Like, that's Tony Khan's fault then for not, again, you could have somehow, maybe some way drug this out until blood and guts, and then you really could have had a car crash of a match, but nope, we just had to be dead set on that, and that's what we got. And just making me mad all over again because it's just a fucking disappointment of a match and ending. That's just it. It was just a disappointment.
It definitely was, and it kind of replicates the feeling of this pay-per-view overall for me. Because all in all, I have to say I wasn't really a fan of this pay-per-view. If you could somehow condense this down to 2 hours, it would made for a fine Dynamite or Collision episode, but not to charge $50.
No.
The matches weren't necessarily bad, but they weren't anything to go crazy over either. Much of the pay-per-view matches felt like moves for moves' sake, no real storytelling or drama to keep you invested. Moves for moves' sake just translates into matches for matches' sake. Then you come to a point where you're like, why am I even watching this? A skippable pay-per-view. I gave it a final grade of a C-.
Yeah, I gave it a C. Just for, I was trying to be nice with like the very few bright spots that there were. And the thing that blew my fucking mind, and I don't even know if you saw this, did you see that Tony Khan said this was his favorite fucking pay-per-view he's ever done, and he wouldn't have done anything to change it?
Wow, if this was his favorite pay-per-view, man, he's got really low expectations.
And also, I feel like he says that about every show, so you kind of just take it with a grain of salt. But it's just the fact that you literally said I would not have changed a single thing about that pay-per-view. It's just like, I don't know. It's just, it makes you shake your head at what he's thinking sometimes, because it's just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. It's just like, sure, buddy, if that's what your favorite pay-per-view was, then you have a very short-term memory loss, I guess. But what we know, we're just talking into a microphone for a podcast, I guess.
Yeah, basically.
We know nothing.
Yeah, we're just fans. We're just the paying customer, you know. But
yeah, we're just the people that have to pay for the shit. But who knows? Maybe Full Gear will get the taste of our mouths. But,
yeah, hopefully
the expectations aren't going to be very high going into it.
Yeah, maybe Full Gear would be a lot better. I'm hoping Full Gear would be better, and I'm wondering what the build up to that's going to be, what matches we're going to see, but we're going to have to wait until that time comes. And there's our final analysis for AEW WrestleDream. Again, on my side, I think a very skippable pay-per-view. I don't think it was fair to charge people $50 for a pay-per-view like this. This kind of just felt like an amped up episode of Dynamite or Collision, not really a pay-per-view show.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just, sometimes they make it very difficult to justify that price tag, and this was one of those, or like I said at the beginning of the show, it absolutely was not worth the $60 price tag for it. Yeah. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's our analysis for WrestleDream. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show, and we definitely want to hear what you guys thought of the show. Don't forget that you can leave comments on the episodes wherever you watch or listen to this podcast on any platform. You can leave comments and let us know what you think. You know what's really cool about the Spotify that I didn't know? They break it down into automatic chapters for you, and when you go to read, you see how it's like mapped out into the different segments.
Well, that's good. That helps people out a little bit because, I mean, I don't know about you. I've had sometimes some podcasts too where I only want to listen to a specific section of it and I don't want to continuously like search through it. So yeah, it's good for Spotify. That definitely helps us out a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Like we said, this show is available on all podcast platforms. All you have to do is just search Ringside Rundown, hit the follow or subscribe button, whatever they ask of you, and you'll never miss an episode of the Ringside Rundown podcast. It's available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio. Again, wherever you listen to podcasts, it's available. It's also available on our YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/@ringsiderunpod, you can find full episodes of the podcast and short form content from highlights that we do of streams. And the streams we do every Monday, Wednesday, except for today because we're recording, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm on Twitch watching various wrestling shows, whether it's AEW Dynamite, Collision, Monday Night Raw, or Friday Night SmackDown. We're watching it live on Twitch. If you go to twitch.tv/ringside rundown, you can follow along and join me in chat every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, 8 p.m. Once again, that's twitch.tv/ringside rundown. Shay, where can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on my wrestling Twitter at @ShayRingside_. I always say just like Eric's username, except my name instead. So
yeah, she jacked my style.
I just copied your homework a little bit. Don't worry about it.
There you go. There you go. Well, next week's episode, I believe we don't have any pay-per-views or PLEs to cover, so it's going to be a standard questions episode.
I think so. Yeah, because Full Gear is not until November, and I don't know what WWE's pay-per-view schedule is anymore.
The only thing that's coming up is maybe a Saturday night's main event in November.
Maybe. I think we're off the hook for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's the only one where they're going to figure out the vacant world heavyweight champion because Seth Rollins is on the shelf. What about that?
Yeah, and clearly the Battle Royale was a complete waste of time. Twitter is not happy about it.
Twitter is never happy.
That's true, but it's just like, just the circumstances around it, and it's just like, really, that's the best you guys could do, but sure, why not?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. Next week's episode is a questions episode, so you can send in your questions about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling, whether it's AEW, WWE, or anything of the like. As long as it has to do with wrestling, we will answer it on this podcast. So if you have a wrestling related question, hold on to it, because on Monday I will post up the tweet on our official Twitter at Ringside Rundown, where I'm asking for questions for the podcast. So you can leave a reply there with your question, and it will get read and answered on the show. So hold off until then, and yeah, that'll be our next episode coming next week.
All right, can't wait for it.
Yep. So for Shay Hickson, my name is Erik Vasquez. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys take care. Have a good one, and we'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care.
See you later, guys.